The Tigers begin the road to getting back on track with a sweep against the Marlins, and Kevin McGonigle is absolutely nuts.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Monday, April 13th, 2026. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. Hope you all had a fantastic weekend. The Detroit Tigers, certainly, if you will, had a fantastic weekend with a series sweep over the Miami Marlins in front of the home Comerica crowd in a weekend that weather-wise, especially by the end of it, really was not that bad for a mid-April game at Comerica Park. They win 2-0 on Friday, 6-1 on Saturday, and an 8-2 final on Sunday finishes off the series sweep. The Tigers are now 7-9 on the still very young season as the Marlins fall to a 500 record of 8-8. So first thought was this was just a fantastic way to get back on track, hopefully, right? Like the Marlins were 8-5 going into this series. They had gotten off to a really good start. We talked about their pitching a little bit, although I completely on me. We talked so much about like the pitching factory, whatever, and then the first game we see Chris Paddock. But anyway, like they're a young team that has a talented young core that is, fixing to have a pretty decent season. I'm not sure anyone's like penciling them in for a playoff team necessarily, but they're a good young team. And the Tigers just lost in a 4-game sweep to in my opinion, at least a lesser roster, right? So you're just looking to get back on track and get something in the win column any way you can. They not only do that, but they get a series sweep. I think coolest, most exciting, whatever like way you want to describe this weekend was, aside from just the result, was that I don't know how the results came, I guess. This wasn't just, the offense was really good and like the pitching gave up a lot of runs, or the bullpen blew it, and like all 3 games, pretty much everything was clicking. I guess you could kind of argue that like they should have maybe scored more runs on Friday rather, and with Chris Paddock starting and whatnot. But as a whole, you look across the weekend, 16 runs scored, 3 runs allowed. Really impressive defensive plays we'll talk about. The bullpen only allowed 1 earned run all weekend. All 3 starters were absolutely fantastic. Like, they kind of dominated in every single facet of the game, again, against a team that, while maybe not a bona fide like World Series contender, is still a solid roster. And given the level of play and the level of performances we have seen from the Tigers over the last, certainly the last 5 games before that, we will gladly take this. So what went right? We'll start with the offense, as I mentioned, that scored 16 runs in the 3-game series. And it's really hard to have this conversation and not start with just oohing and eyeing over Kevin McGonigle, man. He got on base 8 times in this 3-game series. 8 times. 8. 4 on Sunday alone, twice on Friday, twice on Saturday. And of course, on Sunday, he also gets his first major league home run. The profile so far in his major league career is like, you look at like the peripherals and whatnot, and it's April 13th in his rookie season. Okay. I'm not trying to say like these numbers are going to last throughout the rest of his, entire life, but so far in his major league career, His profile is a guy that does not swing and miss hardly ever, does not strike out hardly ever, and he does walk a really solid amount, and he does hit the ball pretty hard. It's hard to conjure up a better profile than that. He is incredible. And I think even though he had the robbery in San Diego that prevented Jackson Merrill, his what would have been his first major league home run there in the opening series, I think it is really cool that he gets his first major league home run at Comerica Park in front of the home crowd. He also made an outstanding defensive play in the hole at shortstop earlier in the weekend. And that was honestly, there's always somewhat of a question when a position player gets called up about how they'll adjust to MLB pitching. But the biggest questions really were not in the batter's box for McGonigle. It's okay, we know that long-term, even if he struggles right away, which he obviously isn't and hasn't, but even if he did, it's okay, he'll hit eventually. What other value can he provide? It was a stellar defensive play at shortstop in that game, and a great throw deep into the hole. And I think it highlights kind of everything else that he's doing right outside of the batter's box. Not only is he capable of making plays like that, he's played a really solid third base as well. He has also, according to Baseball Savant, graded out as one of the most valuable base runners in all of baseball up to this point. Not necessarily the fastest, although he is very high in that regard. But in terms of base running value, he has one of the highest values in the sport. He's done everything. He's hit incredibly well. He's played solid defense. There's been some, hiccups here and there for sure. But you're optimistic about what he can do defensively going forward. And he's a really good base runner. He's incredible. He's an outstanding baseball player already. And that gets you even more fired up about what he can even, the heights that he can reach, right? I'm really glad that he is at the top of the Tigers lineup and getting, the most at-bats on the team every single game. We talked about that. I mean, before opening day even, we talked about the potential of, how quickly would he be in the top two of the lineup card at a minimum, if not leadoff. And he's been leading off a lot lately. Part of that is also Gleyber has not been tearing the cover off the ball. We'll talk about him a little bit later, but I'm focusing on the positives here. Kevin McGonigle is absolutely an exceptional baseball player, and he's a Detroit Tiger, and that's awesome. Okay, got a lot more than just McGonigle to talk about. I want to talk Keith, Greene, Javy with a homer this weekend. Dingler stays hot, and then we haven't even talked about the starting pitching that was absolutely fantastic in this series as well. We will do all of those things right after this. First, though, we got to talk to you about our good friends over at 5 Hour Energy. If you've got a sweet tooth, just like I do, you know how tough it is to find that perfect treat without all the sugar. That's why the Confetti Craze 5 Hour Energy shot brings that nostalgic flavor back in a whole new way. This is a classic taste, if you will, that you remember, but with a tasty caffeine boost and zero sugar. It's a quick, easy way to satisfy that sweet craving while keeping things simple and on the go. Birthday cake is just not only a nostalgic flavor, but just a beautiful flavor as is, right? But you can't be eating birthday cake nonstop all day. This is a perfect, obviously, alternative to that. The Confetti Craze 5 Hour Energy shot tastes just like birthday cake, vanilla, buttery flavors, and you get to kind of unapologetically drink them. And not only that, do you get to enjoy the flavor, but most importantly, you also get unstoppable energy going forward as well. All cake, no sugar. The Funfetti flavor is back at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. Crack open Confetti Craze 5 Hour Energy today. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2, Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in, as always, making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day, and we will, of course, be back tomorrow. We do have an off day on Monday, so we'll get a little bit. We're not doing too much of our stuff segment today, as we will talk about. There's actually a lot of news and notes that have happened over the last 4 or 5 days that we will recap, and then we'll obviously preview the week ahead as well. You can also take your listenership to the next level with LockedOnPodcast.com/everydayer and use code FINALLY, where you'll unlock every episode ad-free and get access to our private listener-only group chat with myself and other everydayers in it. Again, finally, you'll also get a free month at LockedOnPodcast.com/everydayer. The Tigers were good every day this weekend. We'll go with that. Colt Keith continues to be a hit machine there in the middle of the lineup. Wasn't necessarily results-wise, didn't end with, reaching base 8 times like McGonigle did or anything like that, but was getting hard contact in every game, had a couple of knocks throughout the weekend, one of them a big RBI. The at-bats are so much better. And there's some people that have pointed out the strikeouts, up to this point. Look, man, he's got an OPS of 890 or something, right? That I don't think that's going to last. I'm not expecting him to end with a 900 OPS, but a trade-off that I will make 10 times out of 10 is for him to strike out a little bit more. It's not like he's going to have a K rate of 40%. If he can strike out a little bit more if he's going to give us 890 OPS and a batting average over 300, man, go for it. So that we're 3 weeks into the season. We'll see. He's not going to hit 350 this year. So we'll see where he kind of, settles in at. But I've just been thrilled with it. And the increased bat speed, we kind of broke that down a little bit at the end of last week. It gets you really excited about what he can do this year. Because I think we're finally seeing him kind of take that big step forward that we've been waiting for the last couple of seasons. Riley Greene, a great weekend. These 3 games combined, he had 5 total hits, 2 walks. That's on base 7 times with only 2 strikeouts and a big 3-run homer in this series as well. Couple of multi-hit games in there. We will gladly take that. And I think the most encouraging part is maybe the comments he made after the game I think it was the game he hit the home run. So Saturday, where he mentioned that he wasn't swinging for the fences in that, and it went over 400 feet and was a no doubt home run to the pull side. That is exactly the point, right? That's exactly, and I think that's what he said. That is exactly what we are trying to do here. That was a 10 pitch at bat, dude. And it wasn't 10 pitches. I guess it's impossible to have a 10 pitch at bat without fouling off at least a few pitches here and there, but it was a battle. It was a 2-2 count that he fouled off, stayed alive, and then got a ball over the heart of the plate. That certainly is not where the pitcher wanted to throw it, and he absolutely did not miss it, and he didn't need to have the big trying to hit a ball 500 feet type of swing. So, I mean, beautiful signs, good for him. He also has gotten on base. I know that there are some people that just inherently are always going to be frustrated with him because of how last year went with all the strikeouts. But, hey, the K rate is not so far this year what it's been last year, but also the results have not been as good. So he's trying to, adjust and find that middle ground there, which we all want. But I think it's also he's gotten on base in almost, if not every game so far this season. I know Evan Woodbury of M Live put out a post on, it was either Friday or Saturday, saying that he had reached base in every game so far this season, which was one of the longest streaks in Tigers history. Now, again, you get on base once every 5 plate appearances, you can get on base once a game and have a 200 OBP. He's got to obviously be more than that long term, but we're talking about consistency with Riley Greene. That's been the big talking point for his entire career. When he's hot, he's on fire, and he's one of the best hitters literally in all of baseball. When he's cold, he strikes out a ton and is not one of the best hitters in all of baseball. Leveling out and getting more consistent has everything to do with that. Okay, you're not tearing the cover off the ball and getting a ton of results. You're still finding a way to get on base every day, and you're not striking out every time you step in the batter's box. That is a far cry from what he was even just, 8 months ago. Now, we're 3 weeks into this season. For as much as I love to talk about, when things are going poorly, hey, it's early, it is only fair to have that same mindset with all the positive stuff as well. It's early. We're going to let it breathe a little bit. Good for him, though. Great weekend. Javy, handful of hits this weekend as well, and the home run was just incredible. He's hilarious. That is a slider low and away, out of the strike zone, mind you, low and away. The thing with Mr. Báez is that he swings at all of those sliders that are in the other batter's box, and he swings and misses at all of them. However, if you hang it and aren't able to get it as far outside as you wanted, or even if like a pitch like that, it's not necessarily hung, it's just not 3 feet outside. He has the bat to ball skills and the hand-eye coordination to still make contact. How many times have we seen over the last 3 years, a run around third base with an out or two in the inning, and he just goes fishing on that slider low and away, but just gets the barrel on it and gets a blooper into the outfield to score a run. That's why his batting average with runners in scoring position is so high. When there's 2 strikes, he does not sell out for power, and he's able to get the barrel on those pitches, even if they're way outside. That's why you see pitchers set up, in the other batter's box when he comes into the plate and gets, in a leverage count. I'm not saying that makes it worth it. I'm not saying that he's even a good hitter by MLB standards at this point in his career. Not what I'm saying. I don't expect these numbers that he has right now to last, but we have seen him over stretches of time at least be good enough to do what he's doing right now and what he did in the first half of last season. There also is obviously the value of him being able to play center field and play it adequately. He doesn't even need to be a Gold Glover out there. If he's just solid, it's a huge relief for this team after losing Parker Meadows. So tip of the cap to Javy, who had a pretty solid weekend for your Detroit Tigers. Dylan Dingler, another home run. He's an absolute machine. It's interesting to me that he's moving up in the lineup. Not interesting because I disagree with it. Just, I think there's 2 things at play here. One is, and the most important is, he's been hitting well, right? He is productive. And so him being productive as a righty and as a catcher gives AJ so much more flexibility with the lineup. You see a lineup was it Sunday, where Greene hit 4th, Dingler hit 5th, and you're okay with his bat in the middle of the lineup because he has been producing a middle of the lineup hitter up to this point. And then Carpenter 6th. That's not an indictment of Kerry Carpenter. That is having the freedom and flexibility to go lefty, righty, lefty at 4, 5, 6 without even needing Torkelson to be that guaranteed 5 hitter, and still being able to go, switch every other with the platoon and with the handedness, and also still being confident that you're not just doing it to do it. You're confident that guy can hit and bring in runs. Speaking of Torkelson, not a bad weekend for him either. He's had a weird season. There's some people that are, and both sides are right in their own way. It feels like half the fan base is wow, Torkelson's been terrible this year. And the other half is you don't understand that he's actually been pretty good. Both are true. And when you mix them together, you get this weird player that has actually gotten on base at a really high clip so far in the course of the whole regular season up to this point, albeit, again, a little bit over 3 weeks. But his OBP is great. We're talking 370 or 380 OBP. And over the last 7 or 8 games, it's well into the 400s. So he's getting on base a ton. The issue is he has not. Does he have an extra base hit yet? That's a genuine question. I'm not sure the answer is yes. Maybe he has 1 double. I don't even remember. He might not have an extra base hit. Yeah. Either way, you get my point. The slug is in the 200s. while the OBP is pushing 400. Now, for Torkelson to be at his best, you need the slug, okay? You need him to be able to be a guy that drives in runs, gets extra base hits, and has, 30-plus home run pop. That's his whole purpose of being in the lineup. But there is, if you're looking for the optimist side of his season so far, if he's able to do both, if he's able to continue this high OBP type of production while also then giving you the slug that he did last year, that's a really good player. That's not a guarantee. I'm not sure he's going to be able to do it, but we've seen him do both in a vacuum individually at different times. If you can put them all together, that's a really effective hitter. And that's the hope. That's what you're hoping to see going forward. But again, similar to Riley, it's nice that even when he's not driving the ball, getting a ton of extra base hits or home runs, still looking for his first home run of the year, he is getting on base at a really high clip. Kerry Carpenter, a hit in each game, a home run, went fishing for it. He has unreal pop, man. He has unreal pop. And that is, he had a walk on Sunday too, for whatever that's worth to you. That's, again, kind of what we were talking about earlier in the year, right? Where it's just he literally just needs to not swing at everything. If he just doesn't swing at literally every pitch thrown at him, he can be one of the better hitters in the American League. I genuinely believe that. So it's just about picking your battles and being a little bit more, maybe cautious with your swing rate, if you will. Really good to see him get productive again. Obviously, though, on top of that. All right, we haven't even talked about pitching yet. So we'll do that. Then we'll talk briefly about what went wrong and send you off onto your Monday. We'll do both of those things right after this. First, though, got to talk to you about our friends over at FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are here, where every possession matters. Every matchup is magnified, and every game can swing a series. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a great way to get in on the action. There are so many fun deals. You can bet just $5 and get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. The app makes it easy to follow the action with player stats, trends, and matchups all in one place. And during the playoffs, that extra insight really matters when you're taking a look at stars, role players, and key moments. So head to FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel, play your game. And if you need help with your taxes with all of those winnings, you can go over to TurboTax.com. It's tax time. It's tax week, actually. But for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes is a lot. You can try booking an appointment. That's not the most convenient thing in the world. You can sit in a waiting room with a big stack of papers, emailing back and forth. You're not really sure if they really get your situation. But this year, you're getting a major upgrade with Intuit TurboTax in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your documents will get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar you deserve, while you get real-time notifications as you go about your day. It's a relief walking into a meeting with a real person and walking out knowing your taxes are being handled right. So head to TurboTax.com/local to find a store near you and book your appointment today. All right, everybody, third and final segment of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate you all for tuning in. The pitching was also fantastic. I know we just spent 2 segments basically oohing and eyeing over the offense, but I think, given the slow start the offense had going and maybe still has had, right? This is 3 games. We'll see if this is a complete turnaround or not. It was important to kind of highlight how good everyone was for a team that is, hangs its hat on its pitching in Miami. But, yeah, I mean, the 3 starting pitchers were absolutely incredible. Tarik Skubal, 6 2/3, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. The Marlins struggle against left-handed pitching, and Skubal is not only a lefty, but is Tarik Skubal. So you knew that it was probably going to go the Tigers' way in that regard, at least, but the velocity was really solid. We're still not seeing the absolutely absurd swing and miss numbers up to this point. They're not bad by any stretch, don't get me wrong, but we're not seeing the otherworldly whiff rates that we've seen in the past from him. And I really do wonder if we find out at some point that he is And part of that's just like ramping up, like the velocity's still down, maybe half a mile an hour. It was good in this game, but like, something that every pitcher goes through in their first few starts of the year. But I do wonder if he's almost making a conscious effort to go deeper into ball games, and the way to do that would be to get more ground balls earlier in counts. And he's just a guy that's always in the strike zone anyways. He can kind of get you out any way he wants. But we've seen the sinker a lot more this year, especially to lefties, and that's just an observation I've had. So we'll see. Maybe I'm completely full of it, and it's just like, it's early, and when the velocity gets higher and higher, then he'll be fine. But just a note up to this point, he's got an ERA of like 2.2. He's fine. Casey Mize, 5 2/3, 6 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. He's got a 3.94 ERA. But that doesn't even really tell the whole story, right? Like, he's had 2 really good starts and 1 really poor start. That was in the freezing cold in Minnesota, where he literally could not grip the splitter and had no clue where it was going. I'm going to take the side of the 2 other outings. Like, I know that everyone's really hung up on his spring performances and everything, but like, man, he didn't have a heavy whiff day necessarily with the splitter. I think I said slider. I meant splitter specifically, but he didn't need it necessarily. Like, it was a good setup pitch with the fastball, which was very solid, and he was very solid. So tip of the cap to him, man. That's 2 out of 3 really solid starts to begin the 2026 campaign. And then Cater Montero, maybe the story of the weekend from the pitching side of things. 6 innings, 2 hits, no earned runs, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. He went and did the old Justin Verlander trick where you go in to the dugout on the opposite stairwell so that the manager can't take you out of the game. Did not work. He still got pulled after 6. But the biggest thing in this game to me is 2 factors. One, the sinker to right-handed hitters is absolutely a lethal weapon. And it was incredible in this ball game. Sinkers are never going to be high swing and miss pitches unless you're throwing them, 100. But he really kept the ball on the ground, was able to pound the strike zone because he had confidence in that pitch, and it was very effective. And because he was throwing so much velocity, he threw more four-seam fastballs than any other pitch, sinkers included. But because he was so heavy with the velocity and the fastball, and because his velocity is up a couple of ticks, then he was able to throw the changeup and the slider pretty much in every high leverage count that he wanted. And he got a ton of swing and miss on those 2 pitches whenever they were swung at. So brilliant. Establish heat early, go to the off speed rather late. And it's not something that you can maybe consistently do through 162. But he established himself, and it's all about consistency with him going forward, right? We've seen, did he not have a Maddox? He had a complete game, at least I remember, a couple of seasons ago. This is a guy that has shown flashes of being a really good pitcher. It's just he also will go out there every once in a while and go 4 innings of 5 earned runs. And so it's just about finding that consistency on a start-to-start basis. The bullpen, also fantastic. Drew Anderson, 3 1/3 innings pitched, 3 1/3 of no-hit ball with 2 walks and 2 strikeouts. Really good fastball, really good curveball. I think the biggest thing for me, the biggest point of praise is just saving the entire bullpen. Being able to only use 1 reliever for an entire game in game 2, no less, of a series where you haven't had an off day in over a week is brilliant. So really awesome performance from him. Kyle Finnegan, fantastic all weekend. Kenley Jansen not only gets a save, but moves into 3rd all time. Well, he ties 3rd. Lee Smith, all time in career saves. That is an awesome achievement and milestone for him. And he looks really good. He's had, a handful of really good outings, then had the grand slam in Arizona. So we'll see where he kind of settles in. But yeah, the bullpen only gave up 1 earned run all weekend, and it was Connor Seabold at the very end. I guess we can go to what went wrong. I only have 2 players here. Connor Seabold being 1 inning, 2 hits, 1 earned run. It was a home run against. Part of this is just finding anything to put on what went wrong after a great weekend like this. But he hasn't been uber impressive up to this point. Despite the low ERA, which he does have, he's allowed a lot of inherited runners score, and there's just constantly traffic on the base paths kind of every time he takes the mound. He hasn't had a super clean outing yet. So something to keep an eye out for, but I don't like hate the move. If you want to take a swing on a guy, go for it. All of the other relievers had minor league options. So we had that conversation already. The only other player is Gleyber Torres, who went 1 for 9 in the series, and that one hit was a blooper on Sunday. I really hope he's healthy. It just right now he is a walker and out. That's it, man. It is very few hits. The hits that he does have are very low exit velo bloopers. He is not driving the ball at all. Complete noodle bat, and so I'm kind of wondering, like there's so much value in a guy that works the count and draws walks, and he does that even when he's not hitting, which has value. So I wonder if there is a conversation about like moving him down from the very top of the lineup, or if maybe they would consider a change at some point. I don't know. Hopefully he just turns it around and this is all just like a moot point going forward. But he did have an off day on Saturday, and that isn't a coincidence. Like he has been struggling outside of his crazy good walk rate so far this season. Okay, no preview today because we'll do that on tomorrow's show as there's an off day on Monday. The only stuff I want to bring up is Parker Meadows update. You all know this by now, but we haven't spoken since the diagnosis. He broke his arm and had a concussion in the collision last week on Thursday. That is certainly going to take out a large chunk of his season, if not all of it. And there's more screening needed for them to make give a timeline and kind of estimate when he could be back. But it's going to be a long road, man. He's going to miss a lot of time just recovering. And then on top of that, you want him to get up to major league speed, and he's going to have to go on a rehab assignment and all of that. I would not anticipate him back before the All-Star break at a minimum, if not, before the trade deadline. And if they do get him back those last couple of months in the season, then great. That can be a valuable add to this team. But I don't know. There's definitely a real chance that he's played his last ball this year, which just sucks. So wishing him the best. Wenceel Perez was called up. We talked about that on Friday's episode. But something I didn't bring up on Friday, which is totally my own fault and my own mistake, was what we saw this weekend. And that's that Javy has proven that he can play center field. So you can call Wenceel Perez up and have another outfield option, but you can go to Javy more times than not. And I feel like, based on what we saw last year, that's probably not something they're going to be afraid to do. Early season narratives, the Tigers 5-1 at home, 2-8 on the road. Interesting. Also, and that's not even a weather thing because, they were in Arizona for 3 of those games. They have, at the time of this recording, the best run differential in the AL Central and the second best run differential in the American League, despite being under 500. I think that is a testament to not trying to get caught up in the reactions too early and to overreact to the first few weeks of what the record is. They're not going to get swept every time they lose a series. There's guys that are not hitting well that will hit well. Let's just see how it plays out. I want to end the show by saying rest in peace to Phil Garner, one of the true baseball men of all time, and certainly has a lot of ties with the Tigers organization as he was a manager for the Tigers in the early 2000s there. So the first manager I ever remember, actually. So kind of a sentimental place in my heart specifically. My the youngest Tigers teams that I have memory of were managed by the late Phil Garner. So rest in peace to him. And just a fantastic baseball guy. And praying for him and his family through this time. But I know a lot of people in the baseball world are mourning that just in general. So prayers up to everyone affected by it. Rest in peace to a baseball great, and we will be back tomorrow. Okay? Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. I'll catch y'all then. Go Tigers.